So, hi, I'm Maria Mwangi. I am one of the co-authors of Conceived by Grace, and this is my good sister friend, Ansonya Berg, and she is one of our speakers for the event, and I'm so ecstatic because at first I was upset that this event would be virtual, and then when I realized I can have friends from Texas be involved in the event, then God just like changed it all for me. So Ansonya, can you please tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to be involved with our event?
So, well, because I know you, obviously, but so my son Quentin, I was married for 5 or 6 years before I even could have a child, and so it was very hard because y'all, we as women always have dreams, and we dream that we're going to have 2 kids or 3 kids or whatever that number is, and they're going to be this far apart, and all those things, and so when we were trying to have kids, that my story wasn't happening as I had planned.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't able to get pregnant. It was just the weirdest thing. And so, of course, you go through all the depression and all the whys. And, we took all the tests and everything was normal with the test. My husband did the test, I did the test. And the last thing we did was they did where they go check your tubes, and they said that there was a blockage. And so, of course, me being the person that I am, I just began to pray. And I was like, God, you know how bad I want this. You know what I want. Pray that this surgery goes well. And so prior to you have to go in the day before for all of your tests and make sure you're all fine and all that. So I went into the doctor's office just ready to go. And the doctor said, we have to do, before your test, we've taken the blood work, we have to do a pregnancy test. Okay. But I had not been feeling well. And I told him that. I said, I'm not feeling all that great. I just want to make sure it's okay for us to, go through with the surgery to unblock. And he's like, yeah, we'll run the test. Let's see what your, labs look like. Long story short, he came back out and he said, Ansonya, he says, we're not having surgery tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, so he's like, no, you're pregnant. And so, so that just kind of, blew me away. But you know what it does? It just lets me know that God does hear our prayers. Yeah. And I didn't want to have surgery. You just don't want all those things. You want to have a baby naturally. And I understand that God has different plans for you. But I just did not want to go through that. And so just the thought of going thinking you're going to have surgery and the doctor says you're not having surgery because you're pregnant. And I just bawled like a little baby because I was just so excited and just, beginning to thank God for that. So he's a miracle working God. I have seen him do it myself.
So with your second child, was it difficult as well?
So my children are 11 years apart. So I did not think that I could have the doctor didn't say I couldn't. I just felt like, I couldn't. And so 11 years later on Father's Day, I found out I was pregnant. And the interesting part of that was I didn't find out until I was 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Very busy doing a lot of traveling during that time. And I think I just wasn't paying attention to my cycles or anything like that. And I was tired, I was exhausted. I remember I was living in Missouri at the time and came to Arizona for a trip. Got on the plane, and when I got to my parents' house in Tucson, I slept for 5 hours. I took a nap. And they finally came in and woke me up and they said, you've been asleep for 5 hours during the day. I couldn't believe it. And that's when I knew something was up. So went to the doctor and the doctor said, yep, you are 3 months pregnant.
Wow. Surprise.
So it took us a while, but it happened and it was 11 years later. And then here comes Anaya. So Quentin was first and then Anaya came 11 years later. And I remember telling my husband on Father's Day, and he slept for 2 days.
Anaya was a surprise, and my God, she's such a firecracker too. So
Yes.
knowing that young lady, I'm excited to see what change she brings into the world. That's for
Absolutely. She's
sure.
definitely going to do something.
So I met you actually in the event industry, but I met you because you were holding a conference yourself for women. Can you talk a little bit about the conferences and the books, and just a little bit about yourself on the, I want to say professional level, but it's like the spiritual professional side of that thing, if that's such a thing. But because there's so
Yes.
many, we wear so many hats as women that I know you from the professional spiritual side.
Yes.
Say that.
I call it
So,
the marketplace ministry side.
there you go. There you go. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm a healthcare professional during the day, but when you and I met, I was working in the healthcare field as well, healthcare administrator, and then at in the evenings or on my side job, I was a professional event planner. And so in that, I am a minister of the gospel, an evangelist minister. So with all those different hats, I've always, I just love ministry. My ministry for women is something that has always been dear to my heart. And early on, because I love to plan events and then I love to speak into women's lives, um, I decided to use my birthday as an opportunity to just bring women together. So every birthday, probably 2006, maybe somewhere in there, I just started having birthday parties, but spiritual. So, but I love to give back. So when they would come to my events, I mean, if you wanted to give me a gift, that was fine. But the purpose of my birthday was to bless others. And so I would start theming the events. Blue jeans and bling was one of them. And another one was Madam Butterfly. And so I would just name different events based on what God gave me for my birthday, and they just began to just blossom. I started out with 30 people, and then my last conference, which was Code Blue, ended up being a little over 100 people. And so it's basically my goal is to use natural influences to bring people to Christ. So during some of those events, my early events, we did a pajamas and pearls party. So everybody came over in their pajamas and pearls, played jacks, jumped on the trampoline. And then we started talking about Christ towards the end. And so it puts people at ease. They don't feel like you're going to be, knocking them down. And it's just a softer way or a softer approach to get people to know Christ. And the Code Blue Conference, I still today, that was in 2013, Maria, I still get people today saying, when are you going to have your conference? When
That was an amazing. I still wear my t-shirt.
I know, I do too. And it's just basically, women, as women, we go through so much, even, with the infertility things and, things that we've done in our past and, not being able to have babies, miscarriages, things of that nature. And even just, life events, marriages, we get depleted and we give so much and we forget to take care of ourselves. So that's the point, is that we come to these events and we get refreshed and we just make a connection with the Lord and just have him fill us up so we can go back and be mothers and wives and professionals with some energy, as opposed to just giving out of our own needs. And so out of that, so many different things have happened. I've authored 2 books. My recent one is The Iconic Leader, and it basically talks about leaders that don't fit in, which I feel that way. I'm just different in every aspect. I have a different way of thinking with people. I have a different way of connecting. I have a different way of conversations. And sometimes people don't really understand that. And so I wrote a book about my life, and I'm talking to leaders and talking to them about how they need to take care of themselves. And also talking to other leaders about how you deal with creative leaders such as myself, and how you can, that they're loyal. They're probably the best leaders that you can have if you know how to treat them, if you know how to connect with them, and don't necessarily think that they're trying to be insubordinate or anything like that. And then I have my other devotional, which is a leadership devotional, and it's called Inspired. And both of those you can get off of Amazon as well.
Great. Well, I am so excited to have you part of one of my events.
Yes.
Since I've been blessed to be part of your events. Love how God just put us together as this immediate sisters.
Yes.
Just our connection was instantaneous and has been that tight ever since. And so I'm blessed to call you one of my sisters, and I'm excited for what God has you bring to our conference. So thank you again for being involved and for taking the time to do this interview with us today, so we can have people just get a little glimpse of what God has for us on the 22nd.
Yes, and thank you for having me, and I appreciate it, and looking forward to what God's going to do.
Thank you. Love you, sis. I'll talk to
Love
you
you
soon.
too. God
Bye.
bless. Bye-bye.